Today we have the incredibly talented Lubna Adams, a fashion choreographer who has transformed the way you look at fashion shows in India. Welcome, Lubna.
Hi, Rahat.
Lubna, you've had an illustrious career in the fashion industry. Can you share how you got into modeling and then drew you into this field?
Actually, I had no intention of being a model. I was actually working as a sales girl when I was approached by the Spencer sisters many, many years ago to model. And to be very honest, I didn't know what modeling was. So to me, it was something that was very, very new, and I was very hesitant about it. But there were these friends of mine around me who said, "Hey, why don't you look at the option? There's no harm in trying it out." So I went and I met them, and they just asked me to walk the ramp for them. There was no training, there was no instructions, nothing. I was pushed into a show, and that's where the journey started. It just led from one show to another, and then it went on to Shanti and Sangeeta Chopra. And then I had the fortune of working with Jeannie Naroji, who I think is one of the best choreographers we've ever had. And from there, it was just working with everybody who was a name.
So that's
Was my
journey into modeling.
Yeah.
Then how is your journey? How did that take you into the journey of fashion choreography?
So I still remember we were doing a show in the Middle East somewhere, and Jeannie Naroji was the choreographer, and she got called in for a meeting. So she just turned around and said, "Okay, Lubna, now you set the next sequence," because those days we used to have sequences. It wasn't just one nonstop show. And I just stepped in and I started doing whatever was required. And when she came back, she was very happy with the result, and that was that. And we never thought about it again. Continued modeling, and a year or 2 years later, I got a call when I had actually been booked by her for a show for Glitterati, where we had the top designers of India showing their designs. And the show was like about a week away. And I got a call from her daughter. The daughter turned around and said, "Hey, guess what? My mother's in hospital. You're doing the show." So I said, "What do you mean I'm doing the show?" "Of course I'm doing the show. I'm a model in the show." And she said, "No, you're going to be the choreographer for the show." And that was like, I was stunned, like, really? So I don't know anything about choreography. I don't know anything about all this. And she said, "Listen, if my mother thinks you can do it, you can do it." And that's where it all began.
In 1990, you launched India's first modeling school, which also went into the Limca Book of Records. What inspired you to start this venture?
1990 is the year I started directing shows. And when I started doing show direction is when I realized that there was a dearth of models and we needed more models. And the best way to get them was to train them because there was no training available in the industry. So it was very, very important that I had the opportunity and I could, therefore I did. And I launched the first modeling school where we started training models just for the catwalk. And it was interesting because we had a lot of people approaching us. But the problem that time, very honestly, is that they didn't want to pay. So the ones that had potential were not willing to pay. And the ones who didn't have the potential, we were getting lots and lots of. And over a period of time, I actually stopped it because I just felt I couldn't cheat people. It wasn't me. So it was not fair for me to keep taking money from people who I knew would never make it as models. And that's the reason I stopped Catwalk.
But do you see this opportunity? Do you think you could start this all over again? Because there is still a dearth of good models.
So there are lots of people doing it today out there, but there are very few who are good at what they do. I do train models. I have trained quite a few of them. For example, Reha Sukeja, who has been trained by me. There have been a couple of them. But today I do it on a personal one-to-one, on a one-to-one basis. So I do it at my residence or I do it at their homes and I train them, but it's only one-to-one. I don't think I can do these group classes anymore where I know out of the 20, 30 that may enlist at a time, maybe one has the chance.
Okay, going back to fashion shows and your choreography, they often look very seamless, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into making it what it is. Where do you think are the challenges?
Yes, what you see is not how it is. It is madness because there are just so many things that need to be coordinated to make the show turn out right. And it is chaos because me as a director, I am busy cueing the models onto stage. I'm busy telling the light guy what effects I want and when I want them. I'm busy cueing the music changes that are required. If there are any sets that need to change or anything that needs to come on at a specific time, I'm cueing that as well. I'm queuing backstage to send the models in, and I'm queuing backstage to get them out there on time. So it is chaotic. And what you see is just one show, but behind the scenes, if you ever went in the back, you would wonder how a show ever got together like this.
Can you tell us about a particular challenging project that you worked with and the challenges that you faced and how you overcame that?
So there was this very interesting show that we were doing for Rajesh Pratap. It was an outdoor show, and it was very difficult for me from the console to see the point of entry from where the models would be entering, because it was a very, very long runway. And I remember I made James, who was our backstage person, climb up on a tree and hide there. Then my communication was with him, and he was queuing another person at the stage entry point just so that we could get the models out flawlessly. It was mad.
You've trained and worked with many celebrities. Do you have any interesting anecdotes and moments that you'd like to share?
Well, I think the most interesting thing that I've found and I've respected in my lifetime of show direction is Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. I think he is an amazingly professional actor and a very, very respectful person, because I've done 2 or 3 shows with him now as a showstopper, and he's the only actor who has rehearsed endlessly. He's the only one who has arrived on time, waited patiently in case the time was not up for him to come up on stage for the rehearsal. And he is the only one who has rehearsed so many times and then asked me at the end of it, did I do it okay or should I try it again? Nobody else can do that.
Okay, the modeling industry has changed drastically over the years. Uh, what's your take on the current state?
It has progressed a long, long way from where it began in this country. It has gotten more professional. It's got more talented people on board when you do shows. We have the best light engineers. We have very good light equipment now. We have great sets and great set designers. We have stylists who now get involved with the shows. So we know that the garments that are going to come out are going to be accessorized just right. We have some very good models, international and Indian. And we have a lot of creativity that has come in, so it's because we have now professional makeup artists who are doing some fabulous makeup and hair for the shows. And I just feel that we now feel it's an international platform rather than just an Indian show, because to be very honest, when I started as a model, the shows that used to happen used to be more like entertainment shows. There were dances and there were aerobic movements. I don't know what all has been done in the past, but today it's professional and it's got the right mix of the right people executing a show.
There are a lot of conversations that are happening currently with regards to models facing the challenge of body image. What are your views on that? Anything specific you'd like to share?
To be very honest, I just feel today's models and even the population in general has become very health conscious. They are aware of the problems that exist with obesity or not having the right kind of toned body. So I do feel that everybody has now gotten more aware of it and therefore are doing something about it. So there are some models who do go on diets. There are some models who eat just very healthy and work out. But overall, I have seen that the bodies that are coming out there are definitely much more toned than they used to be.
The global fashion industry is moved towards locked towards inclusivity and diversity. Where do you see the Indian fashion scene moving towards?
So India has also gone in that direction. We do have a lot of it happening in all our shows. What I agree with is that yes, clothes are made for any and every body type. What I do not agree with is when these models are forced onto every designer, and that designer is not geared to make clothes for that kind of an audience. So some designers are very, very specific about the kind of shapes that they need. And then there are some designers who would be very happy to include everyone in their shows. But it's out there and it's interesting. It's good.
What are the grooming tips you would like to give to young men and women who would want to enter into the field of modeling?
Well, I would say first, get your posture right. Um, that's the most important thing that makes an impact when you walk into a room. Second is your walk. You need to be able to walk right, which really means walking with one foot in front of the other and not apart. It also means not crossing your feet unnecessarily because that's not required. And I would also say that you have to be very, very professional and you have to be focused about what you're doing because it's not a cakewalk. It's not what people say that models are dumb or whatever. Models cannot be dumb. There is a focus on what garment they're wearing and how they have to show it. And if you can't do that, and if you can't get the right walk and the right expression to work with a garment, you're not a good model.
Walking the ramp can be quite daunting for newcomers. Any specific word of thought? What are the things they need to be careful about? Or
So, as a ramp model, I would say if you're a female, you need to have the right shoes. You have to be comfortable in your shoes. You have to try on your outfit and walk in it before the show so that you know what the problems may be in your walk. Because sometimes outfits can be too long or too tight, or the slit is not enough that it just restricts your walk. And I think you also need to be aware of what you're wearing and how you want to show it. But if you're nervous, the only thing that I tell all the models is just look right ahead. Don't look at anyone, look beyond them. So you don't have eye contact with anyone and you can get away with any nervousness that you may be feeling.
and that's interesting because I think you have a challenge when they're walking, and they tend to have this overall, that confidence levels, etc. So I think, having that understanding that I need to look straight or certain tips for it would is very helpful.
Absolutely.
So beyond the physical qualities, what do you think are important?
Professionalism. You need to be punctual, you need to be polite, you need to be in it. You can't just arrive at a show and behave like you're going for a party. You're not. You've come up for work, put your phones away, get serious about what you're doing, and follow instructions.
You've done some shows in the US, you've done shows in the Middle East, you've done shows globally everywhere. What do you see the difference?
You know, I find the production levels abroad are, of course, far superior. There is a lot of light equipment, again, that is not really available enough in India. So we cannot really get the kind of lights that they use for the international fashion weeks. But otherwise, I would say we're on par.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes, okay, the number of models in shows, because there all the shows use something like 60, 100 models. We are not always using them, though we have used them in quite a few shows, but not in all the shows. So we do find restrictions in terms of set execution, light availability, and the number of models.
See, you see a lot of people when you say somebody's walking the ramp at the Milan show or somebody's walking the ramp at the Paris. There's a huge hue and cry. I don't think you get any of that when you say you're walking in the India Fashion Weeks. Any specific reasons?
There was a time when India had supermodels. Unfortunately, Bollywood took over. So today, because you don't have supermodels, there is not much recognition of the models that exist in the fashion industry in India. Um, Also, because Bollywood has taken over even the commercial aspect, what happens now is that even for ads, they're not used. So when you have a model who's not doing commercial ads as well as runway, you cannot become a supermodel. So what are your chances?
Okay. With such a diverse career, how do you define success?
Success to me is satisfaction and doing a job well. When my client is happy, when my team is happy, my models are happy, and they yell yay at the end of the show, that to me is success.
Fashion shows are normally, straightforward walking, you're walking the ramp and all that. So, do you have the liberty of an element of creativity when you're putting on these fashion shows for designers in India?
Of course you do, because there are some designers who want the creativity and they want something dramatic happening at a given point of time, maybe to open the show or to close the show or somewhere in the middle. Some of them want very, very different kind of walks. Some of them have very bizarre outfits. So the creativity is still there. But it's all about the collection that the garment is that the designer is showing at the end of the day. So if the collection requires it, it's executed. Otherwise, it's just a straight walk.
How did you maintain with this high pressure environment that you were in the personal life balance? in the earlier days, now that your kids are grown up, but in the earlier days, the full balance was tough.
True. It wasn't easy. It was quite hard. And I did feel guilty a lot of times when I had to leave them at home with the staff, with their nannies, or when I had to travel out of town, or I got home late from work. But it was something that had to be done. I had to pay the bills, so I didn't have a choice in it. But also, what I did was I made up for the times that I was not working. I spent every minute I could with them. I used to wake up in the morning, get them ready, uh, get their breakfast done, drop them to the bus stop for school. Then, when they came home in the evening, if I wasn't around at night, I tried to make sure I was there to put them to bed, to tell them a story or sing them a song. But I did that as much as I could. And I think they know that.
As a woman in the creative field, what kind of advice would you like to give the professionals who are trying to carve out a name for themselves?
I would tell them to be sure of what they want and get so focused that nothing can change their mind when executing a job, whichever field it may be in. But I would also say that give it 6 months, a year. If you don't succeed, if you don't feel like you're getting somewhere, change your mind. Change your profession, change your point of view, and look at some other options because you cannot be just hanging on, hoping for something that isn't working out for you. So if you are aware of what is happening out there, whether you fit the bill, whether you have the capabilities, whether other people appreciate that capability, that's what you need to question.
What values do you hold dear that influence your work?
Honesty, um, honesty. I think that's my biggest thing. I can't handle lies.
Um, what makes Lubna Adams tick?
My kids,
The person you admire the most.
both my sons.
Your personal journey, Lubna, is not been an easy one, and I think your and your friends know about that. Where do you see, how what is the kind of strength, and where did you get that from to be able to go through this to achieve what you have right now?
No, that's something a very close friend of mine always asks me, and I don't really have an answer. I just know that it was inside me. I just knew that life goes on and you have to grab every opportunity that comes your way because there are no second chances. And I also believe that I can do it. Basically, I can do it. I can deal with everything and anything. And I know I can surpass every challenge, every problem because there is someone up there.
It's interesting. Um, in the current state of affairs, there are so many fashion choreographers coming up. There are a dime a dozen getting into the choreography space. People who have modeled and moved on as a journey to choreography. How do you feel in terms of withstanding all this and still being able to be there? And secondly, do you feel that you want to move on to other things in life?
So, yes, there are a lot of people coming up, which is great for the profession. My grouse with that is not that they are out there. My grouse is why are they doing it at such ridiculous rates that is killing the market? That is what I have a problem with. Um, so, yes, I encourage them. There have been a few of them who even worked under me or worked with me as a model. And I'm very proud of what they're doing. But as far as my future plans, yes, I would like to do more. I'm not sure what it is as yet. I would like to do something even in the US. But as I said, it's an opportunity that comes your way. When it comes, I will grab it.
With the kind of perfection that you work with, Lubna, and that's been your, mantra, and that's what everybody remembers you even from the earlier years. Lubna is perfection. So, do you think training more people in the space and building up is an interesting journey for you? Trying to create, I know you said that you do training with individual people, you train them on the ramps, but setting up something small in the training space or collaborating with somebody, I think it's an interesting way forward.
You mean training models?
Yes, training models. I think it's not just training models. I think it is a lot of people need etiquettes. A lot of people need postures. A lot of people need to sit and die. Whether it's whether it's the corporate world, whether it's the fashion world, I think everybody needs a little bit of training. And why not?
I agree with you on that. I mean, I see people on the street and I see how they're walking, and I have this crazy urge to walk up to them and say, please just straighten your shoulders, you know. And I've actually done it once or twice. But yes, I would love to. I do classes with an institute in Bombay. I used to do classes in Delhi with another institute, which shut down after that, after a couple of years. And I'm open to it, but let it come and let it be worth my while, because it's exhausting training. It's not easy. It's a lot of energy and effort that goes into it, into monitoring each person out there and doing justice to them all. So yes, if the money's worth it, I will do it. But otherwise, no. There are times I've trained people for free. I mean, it's not that it's only about the money. I have done it for free when I feel there's a potential, but just otherwise, no.
What's your take on mental wellness and the things that models go through to stay ahead with each other?
You know, in India, I don't think that exists, very honestly. I think it's probably more in the West. Maybe the stakes are too high there. But in India, they're fine. There are a lot of, I mean, most of them are friends. They hang out together, they party together, they have fun together. It's more about getting along and having fun while doing your job.
You did speak earlier about a lot of aspects that Bollywood has taken over a lot of the supermodels. Do you see that continuing? Do you see, because I think every fashion show has a showstopper with some Bollywood. And so it's taken over. So it actually is like, you don't see that internationally.
Yes, you don't. And India has quite often tried to copy the West. So I'm hoping it changes back to the way it used to be and the way it should be, because Bollywood cannot walk the way models do. You have so many showstoppers who are taken just for the media, and it's embarrassing because somebody is tripping, somebody can't handle the garment, they don't know what to do with the garment, somebody is looking all wrong in the garment, and they become showstoppers and their pictures are splashed all over the news. So that is unfortunate, and I don't think it does justice to the designer's creations either. But it's a media demand that the clients are catering to. And once the media decides to change that is when it will change, or we start copying the West and go back to the way it should be.
I think when you're doing a fashion show, Lubna, it's yeah, you're right. You're driving with what the media wants, but I think somewhere down, if you're confident about what you're producing and if you're confident about what you're delivering, in the end, do you still need the media?
You always need the media to promote the designer's collection. You don't need a showstopper always. So there are a lot of shows where we do not have showstoppers. And they've been very successful, but then those designers have also been big. When it's a smaller designer, either the designer is so creative that he says, I will not use a showstopper, or he's forced to get a showstopper because otherwise he won't be captured, especially in fashion weeks. You know, when you have so many designers and you're new and you want to get the attention, you need a showstopper, according to what I've heard from the designers. But if you're established, it's not a requirement unless it's a sponsored show, and then the sponsor wants the publicity and wants to ensure
Yeah,
that
that's normally
the face gets splashed with their name.
interesting. So, do you see, we've seen a lot of our designers move towards the global arena, being participated in global shows and all that stuff. So, I think there is a way. I think we would move towards the aspect of where would we would see more professional models on the stage. Thank you very much, Lubna. Thank you very much for being a part of this conversation. It was lovely having you over.
Thank you so much, Al. It's been a pleasure.